Coffin Talk would love your support. Please take a minute to subscribe to the podcast and rate it in your app. Also, follow us on Twitter, on Instagram, and on Facebook. You can find all these links in the episode notes. Thank you so much for your loyalty and support. Hi, I'm Mike Oppenheim, and you are listening to Coffin Talk, Interviews with the Living, a weekly podcast that explores how our views on death affect the way we live our life. This week we have a very special guest. His name is Christian Sundberg, and Christian, when he was a young child, remembered his existence before coming to Earth. He also began to have out-of-body experiences. I'm going to let Christian speak more about all of this and obviously ask him a lot of questions, but that's his bio, and I figured it would be best to start with that. And up until today, I've never actually formally met Christian. So Christian, hello, welcome.
Hello, thank you very much, Mike. Glad to be here.
It's really great to have you. I've been really excited to talk to you about this stuff. Your bio covers like 3 of my 5 favorite topics to discuss, so I'm eager. But before I do that, I do ask every guest a standard question, which is just, how old are you, where did you grow up, and what generation do you belong to, if any?
Yes. So my body is 41 right now. I grew up in northwestern Pennsylvania. I'm there at the moment. So USA, Eastern time zone. I'm not sure what generation that puts me in, maybe between X and Y. I'm not sure, but yeah, the body is 41, but I don't necessarily associate specifically just with age like we all do. We're just having this experience. But yeah, I've been here in northwestern Pennsylvania for probably the majority of my life. Yeah, definitely the majority of my life as I think about it. Yep.
Cool. I went to Pitt, so I used to live up there. Well, I guess we should just dive into it because your story is fantastic, and I mean that in the truest sense of the word, and I think people are probably just dying to hear the story. So in whatever way you want to tell it and you're used to telling it, you can probably start when you were a young child and just go from there.
Yeah, sure. So I'll try to be brief because I've definitely, I've shared the story a number of times, and it's very difficult to put into words, and I know how this sounds. I know that the nature of what I'm trying to share here is not something we typically discuss in the mainstream, at least. And I also just really want to say as a disclaimer that words cannot possibly describe what I'd like to attempt to say. There's just no way to describe our higher nature, what we truly are beyond Earth, beyond the human experience, because words are forms, they're symbols specific to our world, and they're based in the understandings of our local world, and like just things like linear time and discrete location, fundamental assumptions that make their way into everything we try to communicate. We transcend all of that. So there's just no way to possibly articulate the breadth and the depth of what we really are from here. But I'll try. I'll share my experience, and please do interrupt at any time. With any thoughts or questions. That's totally fine.
Okay, and if you don't hear me say anything, it's because I'm just like short of breath, pensively listening. So
no. I mean, thank you. No, I mean, I feel like what I have to share. It's a lot of people find it very interesting, of course. But the thing is, we all come from a much, much bigger context and history than what we remember in our human lives. And I'm not special in any way. It's so, I know you say it's fantastic, but we're all brothers and sisters, and we've all come on this incredible journey all the way to here, to this point in our human lives. We are much more than this, and we're all very unique and amazing beings for even coming here, honestly. So thank you. But I just want to highlight that because it's not specific to me. Every one of us is an amazing being, an amazing soul that has come on this very long journey, and here we are. So I'll jump in. Okay, so I remember all right, so first of all, when I was a young child, I had some pre-birth memory, and that memory left me by the ages of maybe 5 or 6, somewhere around there, definitely by 7. I had no recollection of this at all. And then when I was the age 30, I took up a long-term meditation practice, and after a few months, I began to have out-of-body experiences, and then this memory, kind of around that same time, began to spontaneously return. And I certainly didn't expect it, it was quite eye-opening, but it also was the most normal thing in the world when these memories returned. It was just like there were leaves on the ground and somebody had blown leaves away, and now, oh yeah, there's the ground. Like no big deal. It's the most normal thing ever, and there it is. Okay, so I remember a very, very long time ago. How can I say a long time ago? That it also feels very much like it's happening now. So it's like the most ancient feeling, but also now coming across a being who had been physical. This is before I had ever been physical, coming across a being who had been physical. And I sensed and felt from him the quality of his nature and his essence. It was so beautiful and full of power and joy and freedom. And it was so, I can't describe the quality of this being's essence, is the best way I can put it. And I asked him, and this is telepathic, it's not words. When we're in those reality systems, everything is shared telepathically. We just exchange emotion and thought in huge chunks all at once. I asked him, oh my goodness, do you feel as amazing and full of joy as I feel that you feel? And he said yes, and he kind of shared it with me, and I went deep into it. And I asked him, and because I felt like the quality of who he was, and I asked him, my goodness, what could you possibly have done to be this? I was just totally marveling at who he was and what he was. And he shared with me that he had been physical. He had lived physical lives. And he shared one in particular where he had suffered from a long-term pain, a long-term chronic ailment or illness of some kind. And the way that he met that experience, the way that he met the pain and the discomfort and the trauma even of this experience allowed this incredible refinement of what he was and who he was. And I asked him, my goodness, were you healed? Because I could feel how deeply wounded he was in this life. And he shared yes. And I could feel the depth of how everything that he had suffered in his life was healed. And I was so blown away. I said, I want to do that. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. I was just totally inspired. And he said, well, go talk to your guides. But he also communicated this almost in a playful way, yeah, that's what they all say. It's hard in a way, you don't know, because at the time I was in a state where I didn't know, I had not experienced that type of challenge, the type of challenge that we can sometimes experience here while we're physical.
Sorry, real quick. This is a memory from before you were Christian Sundberg, but after other human lives?
No, I had not been physical at all yet.
You had never been physical? Okay, I did want to double check that. Okay, so that's what I was tracking with, but I just wanted to make sure. All right.
Yeah, this is before any of... Okay, so when I say physical, I mean there are many different types of experiences possible in our universe and others too, but I don't know a lot of the detail of all of those. I just know that I've lived many times since then. And I went back and found this being later, and I shared with him that I was in the process of doing this, and he was encouraging.
Very cool. Very cool.
But I knew that I wasn't done yet. When I went back to him, I knew that I still had refinement to experience and to go through. Okay, so the majority of my pre-birth memories of a time that is somewhat immediately preceding this life as Christian. So I had taken a long break from a preceding life. I was just done with the physical thing for a while, and I remember relaxing and rejuvenating and living joyfully in a different reality system for a long time. And this guide coming to me repeatedly and asking, are you ready to go back yet? Are you ready to go back yet? Are you ready to go back yet? And I kept putting them off and being like, no, I'm not ready yet. No, I'm not ready yet. And finally being like, okay, all right, I'm ready. And I remember reviewing with this guide what I can only describe as my state, who I am, who I had been. This is really hard to describe, but it's reviewing qualities maybe, or depths of energy that I knew. It's really hard to put words on it, but it was like a review of who I am and who I have been and what I understood. It was from the perspective of my higher self, but it was all the things that I had known and been and done, and it was very clear the thing that I needed to work on. I don't like the word work on. That makes it sound too much like a task. It's not a task. but it was very apparent. Like if it was like, I don't know, this is just a very crude human metaphor, but it's like if you look at like a chart or something, like a bar chart, it was like the one thing that needed to be addressed, like that line was like it was glaringly obvious. And I'm like, oh yeah, I really gotta do something about that. And that thing was a fear, a very, very deep, low vibration fear that had bested me in a previous experience. So there was a previous physical experience that I had where that fear had overcome me, and I had become an egoic monster actually in that life as a response to the fear, because I rejected it. I couldn't handle it. So I ended up just getting twisted by it. And I ended up dying an agonizing death in that life. And I was not helpful for other people in that life. So I knew, I could see from this point of view, my goodness, like it would be amazing if I could process that, heal that, expand into that, and I don't know what the right word is, but like refine even in that direction might be the best way to put it. And I remember seeing that even from there, this was such a low vibration. This was such a deep fear, such an extreme experience in one direction, that I remember asking, is it even possible? Like, has any other being in creation ever done something this extreme in this way? And I was told yes. And you have all of time available to you to do so. There's no hurry. And I just knew, and this sounds so strange to me now as the human, but I just knew that if it could be done, I would do it. Like I had total confidence, because I knew the immortal, powerful nature of what we really are. And so, okay, so they brought me a life package, like a life opportunity that was a really good match for this intention to process this fear. And this life that they brought me, I reviewed it, and it was very appropriate, like super good match. And I remember accepting the life, and then I remember accepting the veil. Okay, so this is the thing I remember the most about all of this. This isn't for this life though. This is for the life right before this. I remember this. Okay, this is so hard to explain. Imagine that your awareness, the body of your awareness, like the awareness that you know in your body right now. Imagine that awareness was connected to all things and all knowledge, and was totally free and full of all love and joy. And it's like, so we start at this very, very high vibration place. I'm using terms that sound like dualistic terms. We actually transcend all of duality. So I don't mean this literally, but we're at a place that is very high vibration by comparison. And then the veil is, at least for me, the way I experienced it was this incredible plummet in vibration, a dive down, 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 lower, 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 where all of my knowing was cut off and all of my connectedness disappeared. And it was like, I don't know, like I like to describe it like an amplifier that produces a sound pitch, like, and then you turn down the knob, and you turn to the bottom. And then when it gets to the bottom, you turn it down some more, and then you turn it down more, more, keep going, turn it down some more, and then turn it down some more after that. Like that, it was so extreme, this plummet in vibration, and it was so alien feeling. And I felt like all of what I was being erased, and all of my connectedness was vanishing. I felt separate and alone. And so I was there for a very short amount of time, and I said, you know what, I am not doing this. There is no way I'm going to tolerate this low vibration for a lifetime. So I basically responded in fear, and in my fear, I summoned my might, my strength, my full strength, and I smote the veil. I fought my way out again, and I succeeded in doing that. I made it back, and I was on the other side again, and I was free. But I could see very clearly that I had killed the fetus that was to be me, that was to be my body. And I had a life review for that very, very short experience. I don't know how long I was there. It's not very long. I was still in the womb. I had never even been born. But I could see how my fear had affected not only the poor mother, but hundreds of other people who were affected by the mother, because I had heaped grief on the mother by because she had lost the child that was to be me, that I was to be. So, and I knew, like, I had all these great intentions, but I could see very objectively, like, wow, like I have so much fear. Like, I mean, I went in with all these great intentions, but all I did is make not only the mother's journey more difficult, but hundreds of other people. See, because from that side, we know that, okay, we're not the human characters, we're the players. We're the souls who are playing the game, and all these beautiful, brave souls that had signed up and were living this human experience. I couldn't believe that I had made their journeys more difficult because of my fear.
Oh, wow.
Okay, but I still wanted to do this. I still had the same intention. I still wanted to re-engage this fear, but I didn't want to fail again. I didn't want to reject the experience the way I did the first time. So I spent some time practicing in a place. It was like a room, which I'm just calling that. This is not. I don't know what this is the term I'm using, but I'm calling it a veil acceptance simulator, like a place where you go and you practice surrendering your control and allowing. It's like being plunged underneath a dark pool or something, like being pushed under the water. And except in this pool, if you get too freaked out, you can cry uncle and they'll let you out. that kind of thing. To practice the veil acceptance action, to practice surrendering your control sufficiently. So I did that for a while, and I could tell you the real thing is a lot more difficult than the simulator. But anyway, so then they brought me this life, and I remember reviewing this life as Christian in incredible detail. I remember reviewing what I can only describe as a vast, vast flow chart. It was like if you take a tree and laid it on its side and you started at the thick end of the trunk and then worked your way out to the branches. It was kind of like that, with all the many, many possibilities of what could happen in this life. It was not pre-scripted, but it was pre-seen, all the possibilities. They were like, predicted ahead of time. And my free will choice making and the free will choice making of every other single player in the game was all affecting, would all affect how this would really actualize, how it would play out. And I could experience from this point what it would be like to be me. It wasn't so much about, there were events in it, but it wasn't so much about events. It was more focused on what is it like to be Christian here at this moment and in this moment? Like what is the experience like? Because when we evaluate things from that side, it's not so much like on Earth, we tend to focus on, I'm going to go to this place, I'm going to do this thing, I'm going to buy this object, I'm going to go with whatever this. From the higher perspectives, what's communicated is more like your actual experience, like who are you, exactly what are you experiencing with no, nothing missing. So I reviewed the life from that type of perspective, and I asked many questions about the life. I made requests, like for instance, I asked to be intelligent again in this life, because I knew that I had been intelligent in recent lives, and that I knew that was a trait that I preferred. And they said yes, I could do that. And I knew that certain qualities of the parents were very important for my mission, because I knew that, like for instance, I knew that my father would instill a confidence in me when he raised me, and that confidence would be really important for me to have a rock to stand on when this fear arose, in my life, in my early adult life. Okay, so I reviewed all these details in this flowchart, and I remember there having to be a moment to say yes to the life, and I don't remember that exact moment, but I do remember then being in this waiting area where I was like, kind of in an in-between state, ready to go, and then all of a sudden this guide coming to me and grabbing my attention, like, go now. Like very like abrupt, like almost rude, like grabbing, like kind of grabbing my shoulders and yelling in my face kind of thing, like, go now, right now. And I remember, okay, now I remember like, okay, like being jarred a bit, and then being in this place that I can only describe as the words are so poor, but it's like a mechanic shop or a tinkerer's shop, where there were these beings that were very mechanical in nature, and they do this thing where they apply the veil. At least this is what I experienced. They applied the veil to me. The veil is like organic. It's specific to the individual, and the soul has certain many rich qualities, and then the life and the biology and all the context has something going on, and they do this thing where they make it fit. They make it all jive. I don't know how to do it. It's like an energetic matching. I don't know how to describe it, but they did that, and then they asked me one last time, "Are you sure you want to do this?" And I said yes, because I knew once I said yes here, this was it. Once I said yes here, there was no getting out of the roller coaster.
Oh yeah, totally understand.
You have to remain stay in until the ride comes to a complete stop, kind of thing,
Totally.
So I said yes, and then I remember this incredible plummet in my vibration once again, down, 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 lower, 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 lower. Feeling all of my knowing be cut off, feeling all of my connectedness disappear, and it was like arriving to a vacuum, like a place where there's no heat, there's no air, there's nothing, there's just emptiness, and it also felt incredibly dense. So it was like empty and dense at the same time. And so this time I just focused on not fighting it, because I didn't want to repeat what I had done the previous time. So I just focused on letting the veil, like letting go and surrendering to the veil and letting it do what it would do to me, like giving it full access to cloak over me. I mean, it's a bad word, but like to come over me and to have it rest like on and in the body of my awareness. And okay, so I did that, and then I was there for a little while, and then I sent one message back to the technicians, "Did it take?" And they sent one message back, "Yes." And I was like, oh, good. So I knew that I had made it. I knew that I had arrived to the physical. So then I was here for a while. And then eventually I said, you know what? I am not doing this. This is not happening. This is so dark. This is so low vibration. There is no freaking way I am doing this. So once again, I began to muster my might to fight my way out. And as I did that, the most holy moment of my physical life as Christian happened. And this is very powerful and beyond powerful. It's so deep in my being that I cannot possibly put it into words. But the great I am of God came to me and expanded me back out and showed me all of the galaxies and all of the universe and beyond. And I felt it all within me, within the body of me. I felt the churning of our own sun, like the sun of Earth. I mean, it was like the burning of the sun was like a burning bliss inside me, and I felt just endless freedom and joy. And the Spirit said to me, "This is still what you are. You can never not be this." And when it said that, I relaxed, because I was like, oh, so I didn't lose all that I am. Okay, that's wonderful. So I let go and I relaxed into the simple state of being there in the womb. And I was there for a while. And the next thing I remember is the day I was born. I remember the shock and the cold and the touching and the lights and the sound. And I remember looking at these I now know they're nurses, but at the time I had no idea what was going on at all. I had no intellectual understanding, no context in my mind. It was just totally new, and I had no idea what was happening, but I could see these nurses taking care of me, and I felt love for them, and I felt this incredible amount of curiosity. Like, where am I? Like, what is going on? What is this place? And I was just, I remember just being bewildered and confused and shocked by all the sensory experience. And so that's the last memory I had for a while. I mean, I have a few very, very weak memories as a baby here and there, like laying in my crib and stuff, and not very much. But then as I got to be older, I remember like being in a diaper and referring back to these memories to see what was going to happen. Like I remember checking into the flow chart and just like trying to cheat a little bit. Like just simple things. Like I remember thinking like, who's going to come over to our house tomorrow? Just like simple little things. And as I got older, the ability to do that diminished. I wasn't allowed to cheat anymore. As I got more and more focused into the physical, the veil got thicker. And then, as I remember also having certain assumptions from the other reality that I assumed would be true here. For instance, I remember assuming that we would be able to feel each other's emotions here on Earth, because that's very normal in other reality systems to share what we feel and to feel our connectedness and to know what the other person is feeling, exactly what they're feeling. And, I soon learned that's not, that's not how it works on Earth.
That's incredible. I have a million questions. I can definitely chisel them down to like most important to least. Is there anything else you want to state before I?
No, yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you. And I want to let you know that was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful. A lot of it connected with me, even like metaphors and extended metaphors. And a lot of it really came down to what I try to focus on when I meditate, which is this state of pure bliss that I dive into and am in. But when I'm there, I can't think about here. And then when I'm here, I can think about there, but I can't be in both at the same time. So I guess that's kind of my first question is, am I relating what I'm talking about well? And is that kind of a part of what you're describing when you say that we can never actually not be connected to that bliss, that the burning sun feeling, the energy of the I am?
Yeah. So here on Earth, we are at an extreme vibrational place. If you think about okay, so like there is no geographic place. There's no such thing as geographic places. That's just we just experience we experience distance. The deeper distance, even though this isn't a fundamental distance either, but the deeper distance is vibrational. That is that we right now are in a state that is an extreme state of artificial separation. So we don't remember, we don't remember the rest of what we are. And that's a part of the game. So when we come here we come to have the full experience of being human and being physical. Okay. And in order to have the full experience, we need to dive all the way in and come and come to this vibrational place. So, and then, okay, so there's like you might want to think of like a vibrational location, like we're like in a body of consciousness, like, like a low vibration corner of, I don't know how to describe it, but if you imagine the collective consciousness of humanity as like a pond or something with a certain vibration going on, we're a part of that right now. And so because that vibration is comparatively so low, it is often difficult for us to find and feel the bliss of our being, because that's the nature of the illusory thing we got going on here, the simulation. Our true nature is always love and peace and joy and bliss. It always is. But the more we focus into the physical and the more we focus on our stories about the physical, the deeper we are here in this vibration. And our focus is very powerful, actually. We get lost in all these thoughts and all these things I have to do, I have to be, I have to, all the demands of life, all the pains, all the stories. We get so wrapped up in those stories, and we get wrapped up in our interpretation about the stories. So the meaning that we put on them and the beliefs that we've bought into. When we lose ourselves in that interpretation and in those beliefs and in the story, that is the vibrational step away. And so when we let go of that, we very naturally, it's not even that we rise up, it's more like it rises back up to us, because you can't actually go get it, so to speak. At least is how I experience it. It's just that our true nature is that higher vibration. So it's like we just let go of what we're not. We let go of the story that we're not and the pain that we're not. And then that joy and that peace that is intrinsic to who we are can rise up all on its own. It's like if you look at a beautiful sunset, and in that moment you're not thinking about your bills, or you're not thinking about your friend who dismissed you or whatever. And in that moment, you're just appreciating the beauty. You in that moment, and then you feel it. You feel this. You feel that connectedness. You feel that wonder and that awe. In that moment, you are vibrationally much closer to the truth of who we are, just because you've let go of all that we're not. So yeah, that definitely relates.
Okay, that's great. And in the process of answering that, you answered other questions I had, which is awesome, because I want something to gel at the end of this conversation, and it's about to gel. I can feel it. And what you said about words is my problem, is that I'm trying to articulate and ask you things that I don't really have words for. But I do have a very easy statement to ask you, which is when you say practice surrendering your control, the only issue I have as a literal listener of that advice is I seem to need control to pay the bills, to get food, to operate. So I just have this issue with, like, if I surrender my control, who am I surrendering it to?
Yeah, surrendering control does not mean inaction. It's not the same. Surrendering control is about fully experiencing reality for exactly how it is, which means fully facing and processing one's own fears. Because the need for control, the desperate need, that arises from ego, which is from fear. A very evolved being is able to meet rather extreme experiences of earth, even experiences of lack or hardship or pain, without suffering, without that fear response, because they've evolved enough to to meet it with love and to handle it fully, and they're not afraid. So I would say that the key then is basically we need to be willing to face and process our own fear, our own crap. We really need to be willing to find the part of us that is unhealed, the thing that we've rejected, and to actually go look at it. Like we spend so much time trying to resist reality and control reality because we're terrified. When I say release control, I mean go look directly at exactly what you feel, exactly what is in your environment right now, exactly what you're experiencing, sensory experience wise. Be willing to actually fully go look and feel all. And as you do that, it's a release of the need of the ego to do something toward actually experiencing reality itself. When we do that, we can actually then go and move and act in peace. We can take the actions we need. We can still be productive and be active, but we don't have to do so from fear. I mean, that's something I've had to work on. I still do, try to do that in my own life. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm just pointing out that fear is the only issue. There isn't really any other issue there in everything. Fear is the only real issue. And if we're willing to actually go face and feel it, that's powerful.
That's a perfect answer. It all connects perfectly for me. And I just want to tie some loose ends. So so when you fear something, that's actually a good sign for your soul's maturity / project, as you said, for this game, because we're here playing a game, and the stakes of the game are you win by facing fears and experiencing the sensations and the emotions of the fear itself. Is that correct?
Well, first of all, I don't want to limit. I don't want to say you win by a certain way, because there's nothing you have to do to win.
Okay.
We are already perfect, and there's nothing that actually needs to happen, even as we sometimes go to great lengths to evolve. Those two things are simultaneous, and they don't contradict. I want to say that because it's easy for then the ego to get a new idea, like, oh, now I need to go do this other thing, and boy, I better get on that. There actually you don't have to do anything if you don't want. I mean, I'm just saying you're free. You're totally free. You're so free, you can just lay and be or watch and just breathe, and it's beautiful and all as well.
Because that's in the decision tree, that the flowchart, yeah. Because if there's this giant flowchart, that would be included. Like Christian Sundberg is allowed to say in a conversation on a podcast.
It's not allowed to. We're allowed to do whatever we like. Actually, this is like a playground, and we can do what we'd like to do with the playground. But to your original point, it is powerful when we face and process our fear, and that's just one part of what I would call us success. Success is love. Love is what we're here to do. We're here to love each other. We're here to grow in love, receive love, experience love. We're here to be creative. We're very creative beings, and to let the love that we are flow out through our creativity. And what does all that have to do with fear? Fear is, to your point, when you said fear is actually a good thing. It is in the sense that fear is just a sign that there is some part of us that has yet to evolve. It's a sign of yet unevolvedness. So it's like a signpost saying, this is something you haven't integrated yet. If you're afraid of it, it's because you have not integrated either the experience or the interpretation you're buying into about the experience, or both. The processing of fear is like creating more room for the native love to flow into and through, and the expansion of love is what this is ultimately about. The integration of experience is what we're here to do, and that means integrating even what we call fear. Fear is just a simple word. Fear means all sorts of everything that we're rejecting, everything that's too big for us to handle, everything that's too scary to look at, everything about our own weakness that we don't want to own. All the things. There's so many things that fear can mean, and as we process those things and integrate that experience and grow in that way, then our native love expands in huge ways because of that. It's not just that I'm saying we're not only here to process fear. It's just that is a key part of the process of evolution, because we're experience integrators, and experience integration means facing and processing even the most difficult experiences if and when we can.
This all makes total sense to me. So is it like fair or unfair that you have this knowledge to yourself? I don't care about the rest of us at all. I'm saying in the progress of your soul's journey, your higher self rather, is it like a crutch, a handicap? Like, are you not evolving as much because of it, or does that have nothing to do with that, and that's just a part of your journey?
Yeah. So, okay, first of all, like I said before, I'm not special in any way. I will never, I would never claim anything remotely close to that, because we all are going through rather unique personal journeys, and the veil is unique for each of us anyway. Some people are more deeply associated. Well, okay, the other thing is we're all extremely unique souls. When we look at each other as humans, we see, okay, you got a head, I got a head, you got arms, I got arms. You sound kind of like I do, but as souls, we are incredibly unique. And then we converge into a shared simulation called the human condition, where we all are under similar constraints, similar biological constraints. Some people have very different biological constraints, and that very much affects what they can experience. The constraints of biology are a big part of what we're doing here. Okay, so I'm just saying that it's unique to each person. But meanwhile, in my case, I actually, in my pre-birth experience, requested to have a small amount of memory this time, not because of any kind of fair. It's nothing to do with fair. It's just I knew. Okay, so I asked if I could do it because I just wanted to, and they said that I could, but that if I did, it would make the journey even more difficult.
Okay, that's precisely what I want to know. Awesome.
And so I said, but I knew that even that difficulty was an opportunity for growth, because that additional difficulty was more contrast, and more contrast equals more opportunity for growth, and I knew that. So I knew that I'm like, okay, I'll sign, I'll do that. That'd be awesome. I'll do even that. And meanwhile, it sounds like I've shared a lot, but it's just the very tip of the iceberg, and I'm very, very much veiled, and I'm very thankful that I'm veiled, because I do feel a profound amount of homesickness. Like on a day-to-day basis, I just feel homesick. Like
oh wow,
it's not funny. Like.
Uh-huh. No,
Like I have a serious, I just earlier today, I was looking out my window at the world and just being like, oh my gosh, what am I doing here? This is crazy. Like it's so persistent. This world just keeps going. But that's the nature of the experience. I'm not rejecting it. It's a very valuable opportunity, but it is harder to have some awareness.
Yeah. I've never considered that, and that, wow. I've actually joked with my wife many times that I feel a longing for leaving here, but not because of any sort of suicidal or negative or depressed feeling. It's that I have a strong feeling that it's better, and that this is not a punishment, but this is a real test. And part of that has to do with my story that I tell myself, which I'm going to work on after your awesome advice.
I think many people experience what you just described. I mean, we all know. Like, the thing is, I'm not saying anything new actually at all. Like, we all know deep down there's more going on than we see in front of our eyeballs. Like, we might get sucked into the stories of life, and every once in a while, though, we're always going to go back to, is this real? There's something more. Like, so we all sense it, at least in part, even though this is a very extreme veiling. Even though we feel very separate right now in a way that is very unique.
So I can feel someone's energy in this realm. Like, if my wife is in a bad mood, she doesn't have to say anything. I don't even have to hear her footsteps. I can just feel her energy. But you talked about feeling like the energy behind like astrology or like a statement. So I'm curious, can you feel the kind of energy that my higher self is? And I'm speaking literally about me. And if the answer is yes, can you feel it through an email, through a conversation? Like, can you describe that?
Well, it depends on what state I'm in. If I have been meditating a lot lately, then it's a lot clearer. If I've been focused on work all week, and like, I can still feel a little bit, but it's pretty mild. But anyway, yeah. So what I typically feel from a person, and I don't need to see them necessarily, I just need to have a good enough URL, I guess you could say, like a Google. I need to. If seeing someone and being in their presence helps a lot, because it's very clear. Whereas just a name and an email, it's harder for me to get a bead. But if I speak with someone, I can feel them. And then usually what I feel is I feel who they really are. And then, like, the human stuff, the human conditioning and psychology and everything within the larger them, but they're always still the real them. Yeah, I tend to feel that. And if I spend time with someone, like meditating with them or something, it gets deeper and deeper. And after I've done it, like spent a few hours with somebody, I usually can feel quite a bit.
So if you did like volunteer work in like prisons with people who have done things maybe similar to the life you described of your own, where they hurt other people and didn't help them and stuff, do you feel that energy in a negative way, or do you just feel it?
Okay. So if the local personality is under a lot of fear and a lot of weight, then I'll feel that. So that can be difficult. I wouldn't call myself like an empath in the formal sense of the word, but I think any empaths would agree that it can be difficult to be around, lower vibration stuff, for a length of time. It can be very draining. We tend to kind of resonate with each other, so to speak. So if we feel into that, we tend to kind of go towards their vibration, which can be, in the case of someone who's in a lot of pain or is in a really dark place, it can be difficult.
And so I'm going to wrap things up with a question that goes back to like one of the first statements you made, which is, you said we're all here on this incredible journey. And you said like single person is incredible for just being here.
Yes.
And you talked a lot about like coming in and out and taking a long time between lives, so to speak. So I'm curious, like right now there's 7-something billion souls on human lives on Earth, and I'm assuming they each belong to a very different, unique higher self. How are their higher selves like dying and waiting in line, or is it like right now is just a peak time for pure hilarity, like, or is this not even close to peak?
Well, okay, there's way, way, way more spirits, souls than there are avatars on Earth. Earth is very high value. It's very, very precious and unique, but it's just one tiny, 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 tiny little, tiniest little corner of one universe. And it's so big, but because there are only so many opportunities, being given the chance to play a human and to live a human life is such a profound, precious gift. It is such an honor to even be given the opportunity to be at a place where you are being given, like, out of all the beings in all the multiverse, you are given the chance to be this human. And here on Earth, ironically, so many of us just trying to get through the day, and we just want to get out. So many people are suffering, and so many people just don't like their lives on Earth, and it's it's kind of ironic that we've all forgotten what a precious opportunity it actually is, because today is a huge opportunity. It really is. We've come all this way. We may not even remember making the decision, of course, but we've come all this way to this moment, and there's so much preciousness in it that you get to do something with. Yeah, it's amazing. So anyway, I kind of deviated from your question a bit there, but yes, there are way more of us than there are slots in the game. So to be given a chance at one is really a precious chance.
Wow. Yeah. I have to shelve my list of questions. There's just no way I can ask them all day, all night. So instead, I have to give you what I give every guest, which is just a chance to say anything you want on this platform. It's going to reach different people maybe than you've reached before. So what would you like to tell the people who are listening to this?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think the most important thing I could possibly say is whoever you are listening today, you are loved. You are so loved, specifically you, not just like a nice general big love. You specifically are adored and cherished and held up and celebrated and watched over, and you are precious, and you're not a human. I know it seems like you're a human right now. I know that sounds crazy, but you're you. Okay, and the you that you are, the you that feels like you to you is having the experience of being human. So the human content is not what you are. It will change. It will eventually pass away, but you will still be you. In fact, you will be far more you when the human stuff is done. And in the meantime, you have nothing to fear. Like there's nothing we have to actually be afraid of here. And that is so important that we remind each other of that, because if we really consider that, like, man, we are empowered to meet our lives in a way that is more reflective of the love of our true nature.
That's incredible. I am so thankful, Christian Sundberg, that you took time from your busy schedule. I strongly encourage people listening to this to buy his book, which is available at walkinthephysical.com.
The book is available for free also. It's not about money. If you go to my website, walkinthephysical.com, there's a book page. The third link down is to the free PDF on Google Books.
That's awesome. And thank you, as we always say, for helping us put another nail in the coffin. Christian, I can't thank you enough. You're the first guest I've ever not asked the standard question to, which is, what do you think happens when you die? Because you talked about it in great detail.
Yeah, thank you for being you, and thank you for being human today. You know, thanks for doing this.
That's awesome. Well, likewise, and to our listening audience, again, thank you so much for listening, and we will see you soon.